Entrepreneurship opens up so many opportunities. Why not let our children experience them too?
So in today's episode, we're talking all about how to raise entrepreneurial kids.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Tired of putting in long hours doing what everyone says you should and still not making money? Sounds like you're ready for Lifestyle Builders. We'll help you get back on track, taking action, and seeing results. Head over to joinlifestylebuilders.com today to get started. Woo woo. I know this is a topic that Tom is very excited about because this is something he's always looking to do for our own children.
Well, I do like entrepreneurs and I do like kids. So this should be a
the
really good
two together is great.
Anything that's good, if you just mash them, it's got to make something good, right?
Not all the time. Not all the time. But I do want to say that one of the things you've always been passionate about since we started this entrepreneurship journey was bringing everything back into the schools. So bringing it back even further than college and going to like the elementary, high school level and talking to kids about what it means to be an entrepreneur and just the different paths in life that you can choose.
Yeah, well, just looking at our journey, and this happens to so many people where you're on that traditional path. Go to school, get good grades.
You're looking at me here.
Go to college, get good grades. Actually, I wasn't even looking at you, but I guess I should have been. And then go get a job. And yeah, let's talk about you. So the guidance that you got was, Ariana, what do you like to do? You're like, I like animals. They're like, oh, be a zoologist. Go get, tens of thousands of dollars into debt. And then, afterwards, by the way, realize that there aren't many zoology jobs around here and you didn't want to move.
Yeah.
So like you hear so much about the college loan crisis. And, even as we get into like the presidential elections now, like there's a lot of talk about student loans and all of that. And to me, this conversation, we're talking about entrepreneurial kids, but what I think we're really talking about is raising kids and letting them realize here's the different options and guiding them towards picking intentionally which path is best for them and supporting them with that. Because I feel like right now what happens is that kids don't realize there's choices. Kids think there's only one path and then they follow that path and afterwards they're like,
what the hell?
Why didn't anyone tell me that there was options? And then you're like us and you're like, probably millions of other people where you now, when you get out of college, have dug a pretty big hole of debt. So you're not starting out even. You spent 4 years getting an education. You're now in a financial debt and you're trying to dig your way out. And that is such a tough way to start out life, especially if what you went to school for isn't something you can get a job in or it wasn't the right choice and you just didn't know.
Now, I'm going to take a quick sidebar. This is a topic that will probably be we'll have another show about it at some point. But I do hear a lot of entrepreneurs talking negatively about school.
Yeah, we can definitely have.
And I know we're going to have we could probably go for hours on this topic, but I do just want to say I don't think that kids going to school is necessarily the problem. A lot of people like to blame it on, school wants all the kids to be the same and they pop out these little robots and blah, 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 blah. And in some cases that may be true, but being a daughter of teachers, I know how hard it is for teachers to be able to play to every kid's strength in their classroom. They all want to, but this is really it comes back on us. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it comes back on you as a parent. You have to be your kid's biggest advocate. And you can't assume that school or anything else in life is going to prepare your kid for what's best for them. This is a conversation that you have to have with your child. And these are things that you as a parent have to be aware of, because if you let your kid just go through the system like everybody else, this is where kids are falling through the cracks.
Well, and here's the thing. So you just mentioned the system. Are there issues with the system? Are there issues with public school and private school and colleges? Yes, there's issues across the board. And we should all work on improving those. Like there should be improvements to the student loan, how they're given out and all of that. There's definitely should be improvements.
How schools are now becoming for profit.
Yeah, what we're talking about here though is regardless of what the system is, we all have to do our best and take the opportunities within the systems that exist. And I think that's really the main focus for today. It's not that one way is better than the other. It's about really intentionality and being aware of all your options and then picking the best one that will work for you.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to our first point, is having an open mind. That is the most important thing you can do as a parent of children who you maybe you want them to be entrepreneurial, maybe not, who knows, but you've got to have an open mind, and you've got to learn about your child and their traits, because there's nothing worse than trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges, and people aren't going to want to hear this, is that we all have expectations, and we can talk about why we have these or whatever else, but we have expectations for our children. We want them to, we played a sport, so we want them to play a sport.
We went to a college, so we want them to go to that college.
Yeah, we believe in this religion, so they should believe in this religion. We have this political affiliation, so they should do that. And I think one of our responsibilities as parents is not to imprint our beliefs onto children, but to support and encourage them to come up and question and come up with really their own beliefs.
Oh man, you're encouraging children to ask more questions.
That's what it's about. And we practice what we preach. Like, I do like daily walks with our kids, and a big part of those walks is just asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they think about things when something happens, asking why or their beliefs on it. And I'll tell you what, one, it's really cool to see how much our kids actually know.
Yep.
But two, it's then cool to be able to see our kids come back afterwards and they start asking questions. They don't just take anything at face value. And throughout life, one of the best skills you can have is being curious and asking questions.
Yep. And I think it's important to know that our children, while they have parts of us, they are also their own people. So a lot of times your kids are going to have different characteristics and different personality traits than you. A lot of them will have different skills than you. This is a good thing. It might put you in an uncomfortable situation, because if your child has a skill that you're not familiar with, then you have to go and learn about that thing. Like, say they pick up a sport that you never had any interest in playing and really don't care to watch. Yeah, it's going to be some tough years for you to go and have to watch that sport and be supportive of your kid. But that is the skill that they have. And it's really important to encourage our kids to build on their skills. Like, everyone complains about millennials and all the kids these days are doing weird things.
And by the way, I think every generation does
Pretty
that.
sure every generation complains about the kids that come after them.
Yeah.
But instead of complaining, why not get involved and get interested in these new skills that kids are coming up with? Look at some of the amazing things kids have invented, and kids have done, like freaking Ryan's Toys review on YouTube. Like, that kid is blowing up simply because his mom tried something new and it worked, and he's good at it.
And that's exactly what I was going to say is, the rules have changed, and where, like, I know, at least for us growing up, and maybe it's just a cliche, like, parents wanted kids to be doctors or lawyers or whatever else, but
they want you to be successful.
But really, everything has changed so much that you can have success in just about anything these days. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like a mom following her child to buy a toy at the store, or a toy at the store, and then open it and play with it, and now is making, tens of millions of dollars a year. Services,
how about the gamers? How about
that's what I was going to say. Twitch, services like Twitch, so where gamers are now making more income than a lot of people at their jobs by playing video games all day. So literally, whatever it is that you or your child are interested in, there's probably a career or an opportunity to build off of that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think that there is any time in history where you've had access to learn about pretty much anything that you can just type on YouTube and be like, how do I do this? I need to learn how to play the guitar. I need to learn how to build a house. Like,
even talking about gaming, our kids are learning how to code, like how to develop software through playing games on a free website.
Yep.
And they love it.
Yeah. So I think, it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's something that we never encountered when we were growing up as kids, because we didn't have that opportunity. But it's really important as a parent to kind of leave our own expectations off to the side and out of the conversation, and ask the questions. Don't shoot down your kids' ideas right off the bat, because you never know, they could be the next YouTube star and be making millions of dollars. I mean, I don't know. They could invent something like the kids that are inventing devices to help clean water in lakes and streams and ponds, and like they're making a real impact on the world because they had an idea and somebody around them said, you should really build on that idea. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably touch on this later on, but a big part of this too is it's less about, a kid being successful at something and more about the lessons they're learning amongst the journey. Mm-hmm. So if I'm getting too far ahead, just yell at me. And
you are. It's okay. You're always getting too far ahead.
But, I think a lot of we're seeing it now with our daughter being in sports and stuff. There's so many expectations for kids to be all in on sports and to take it serious.
You have to pick one thing and you have to be really, really good at it. And then you're going to play it for the rest of your life. And then you're going to play it in college and you're going to pro offer to go play in a pro team somewhere. And that's all you're going to do ever.
Tell me how you really feel.
Some people think that way, though.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. What's more important is less about whether your kid excels at one thing. And especially the younger they are, exposing them to a lot of different things, because I can't tell you how many people we've talked to that are like, oh, I didn't even realize that was an option. Oh, I didn't even realize that was a sport I could play, or that was a club or an activity that I could do. And, I think the more exposure you give, especially when kids are younger, the more they're then learning from all these different areas. We're exposing their worldview, and then they're able to make better decisions later on because they've seen more.
Yeah, that brings us right to our second point, teaching kids about their options.
Hey, did you see how good I did there?
You did very well.
Sometimes I bring us all the way over here, and sometimes I circle us back. So
no, but I really think this is the hardest lesson to learn as a parent, because we as children were not necessarily talked to about our options. I remember just college. College was the thing. There was really not any other conversation about are you just going to graduate and get a job? Are you going to go learn a skill? What are you going to do? It was it was assumed. I think that was the hardest part. It was assumed that you were going to go to college. And then the worst part is that if you didn't go to college, you were looked at like an automatic failure. Oh, your son's not going to college. Didn't get in, did they?
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. You either were successful and you got into college and you were going to go on to do great things, or you were a failure because you didn't get into college, or you didn't want to go to college. And who did that?
Yeah.
So it's we all grew up with that expectation.
Well, and you just hit the word expectations. We talked earlier about not having expectations, not putting expectations on your kid, but seeing what they really want.
And society putting them on too. It's not just parents. Yeah. It's also the pressure from school, the pressure from everyone in society saying you must go to college.
Well, and with parents, both of your parents went to college, neither of mine did. And so, in your case, it was we went to college, so you should too. Look at what it's helped us do. And then for me, it was we didn't go to college, so we want to provide you that opportunity. And I know for me, I had a couple older cousins that went to college, but in my direct family, I was the first one to go to school. And so a lot of people saw going to college as this grand thing, you've made it. And I think it was a big shift where, with our parents' generation, going to college really did unlock different careers and stuff for you. And nowadays it's less of the case, and there's more opportunity to achieve those things without necessarily going to college. So it's not a bash of going to college or not. The thing I always come back to
that on Facebook too.
Yeah, I mean the big thing. Yeah, we'll have to link it up in the show notes here. But the big thing about college or anything else is it comes down to, where do you want to go? What do you want things to look like in the future? And then what out of all the paths you have available, which path is most likely to get you there? And if college is the right path, do it. If you truly want to be a doctor or some career that needs college, yes, go to it. But be clear on, okay, let me look out 5 years, or let me look out 10 years. This is an activity I took my sister through, and it's very powerful. So listen up, take notes. My sister wanted to go to a private college. it was like $40,000 a year. I don't even remember what the price was. And so, we sat down and I talked to her and I said, I didn't say, don't go to a private school. I just said, okay, let's walk through this. So what's college for 4 years? We put the price out. What are you getting in scholarships? We put that out. What are you getting in student loans? We put that out. Then we said, okay, after you get out of school, what's your starting pay for your job? So she went and looked up starting pay. And then we said, okay, let's talk about where do you want to live? Okay, do you want to live on the street or are you going to live in an apartment? So she went and looked up the price of an apartment and we went through all the expenses and we came out with a number. Here's how much money you're going to have left living this life. And then we said, well, I just did one alternative with her. I said, well, let's go to a state school. We did the same math and then we compared them side by side and said, which one do you want? And now that was great because it allowed her to decide, the cost of that private school and everything else isn't worth what I'll be giving up in my life. I'd rather go to this other school. But what I challenge people to do is go beyond that. Like help kids get clear on what they want things to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then explore all the options. Trade schools, right? Starting your own business. Look at all these different paths, even freelancing and being a contractor, and then say, which one is most likely to get me there?
Well, and I think this is the hardest part too, is because we're asking kids at age 16, 17, 18 to define what the rest of their lives are going to be, because that's basically what you're trying to do when you go to college. Well, you go to college, well, what are you going to major in? And then what's the job that you're ultimately looking to get when you get out of college? That's really hard to decide.
And that itself, to me, that's the wrong question. What's the job you want to get when you get out? Like, we do not live lives for our job. The question we should be asking is, what do you want your life to look like? Right? And then just like we do with the entrepreneurs we work with, when you're clear on what you want your life to look like, now you say, what business or what job or what path will allow me to live that life? And I think that's the fundamental question that is never asked. What do you want your life to look like? Because once we know that, we can now use that as a filter for all the other decisions and paths that we take to get there.
Yep. And I think, and it's not to say that you can't tell kids to follow their passion. Like, what is it that you love to do? What we're saying is don't necessarily push them the college route because they say, well, I love modern medicine, so I'm going to go be a doctor. I really honestly think, I don't know.
Who says I love modern medicine? That is my passion.
Anyways. What I love about some countries is they're actually encouraging kids to take a year between high school and choosing what they're going to do, college or working, and go and work somewhere. Go and intern. Go and find something that you are interested in or you enjoy and work for that year before you choose your path for, quote unquote, the rest of your life. So for a lot of kids, they're just going into college because their parents are telling them to, their schools are telling them to, society's telling them to, college is fun.
They don't know what they want to do next.
College is super fun. So why not go and just, have a hell of a time for 4 years.
I don't have to work for the next 4 years.
7 years for some people who don't make it out in 4. And so they don't know what they want to do. So they're just following this path because the easy path that everyone is telling them you should be doing. What I think we need to do is make kids get a little uncomfortable and force them into choosing something, doing something, because what's the worst that could happen? They pick the wrong thing? Well, great. They figured it out before they spent a lot of money and went to college for years and picked a major and then figured out after that it was not what they wanted to do for the rest of their lives.
For those listening, Ariana is pointing to herself.
Yes, let's just point it out again. I have a degree in zoology. All I got out of that is some really super cool animal trivia facts.
Yep, and the rock bass.
Shut it.
But, as we go through this, I think you hit on a great point. So many of us say what we want to do, and we never actually experience it. Like when we help people set goals, someone might say, I want to buy a Lamborghini. Like, sweet. Have you ever been in a Lamborghini? And they're like, no. And so we're like, how do you know that you'll actually like having a Lamborghini? How about you go and experience that? So you can go to a Lamborghini dealership and you can sit in a Lamborghini. You can do a test drive. And then once you've done that, you can say, yes, that is everything I thought it would be. I'm going to go in and make that happen. Or, you know what? It was cool to sit in it and drive it, but the cost on it versus what it is, it's not worth it to me. So I'm going to go do something else. But we never ask kids to do that before taking a whole bunch of money for student loans or whatever else. So the most important thing is with that quote unquote year off, take that year to try out all the things you want. Like I remember getting to the end of my college, like my 4 years, and I started looking at companies and what I was going to be doing as a software developer. And I'm like, I do not want to sit in a cubicle for the next 45 years typing on a computer. Like what I liked about computer science was solving problems. And I did get a career in that for a little bit, but I ultimately shifted that. For me, it was into entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship is about solving problems, you know? And so I think having the, like, whatever you think you want to do, going and actually doing that to either confirm it and be like, yes, I should keep going down this path, or no, it's not really as fun as I thought it would be, you know, and then shifting.
Yeah. And I think just taking the stigma off of trade schools, because we talked about this a little bit with my parents, the teachers. And one of them was like, if I had known how much better off I would be if I had gone to school for woodworking or being an electrician, she was like, I would have done that in a heartbeat. I don't know what the heck I was thinking, going to college and then going through and being a teacher and then going in an administrator. And like, it doesn't make sense for everybody, but we have this stigma around these programs in high schools where kids are taken out of the normal school day to go and do the trade school programs. And
they're
now
the dumb kids.
Yes, it's the stigma of like, oh, well, the dumb kids are going to the BOCES programs. That's what they're called.
Here's the irony.
Those are the smart kids.
There's so much need for like a lot of those trades right now that you can actually, in a lot of cases, make more money doing that. Like I was at an entrepreneur night, and I was talking to the owner of this like steel casting place, and he said I don't remember the exact numbers, but so many of his employees went through the trades and are making over 6 figures a year. So there is so much opportunity. And here's the big thing a lot of people don't realize. When you go to college, your next 4 years, like, so if we start right after you graduate high school, one path is go to college. So 4 years are now consumed. So you're consuming time. If you take student loans out, you're now consuming money,
you're in debt,
and you're likely not making a lot of money over those 4 years. If you have a job or whatever, great. But so 4 years in, you graduate college, you've got $50,000 in debt, and you're 4 years in. Now let's contrast that with someone that goes into trades. Trades, right away, you're getting a job, and let's say you're making...
Probably being an apprentice and working for
let's
somebody.
say you're making, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000 a year, whatever that is. So now 4 years later, if you made $30,000 a year, you've made $120,000. You don't have student loans, and you're likely making more money, and you've built up 4 years of experience to now allow you to do more. You know, and starting a business, you know, depending on what you're trying to do, may or may not be as good. But the key thing is that you're starting and building. You're not delaying 4 years to start and then starting out of a hole, because it is just such a difficult place to get back to. Like I did the math at one point, and it was like 16 years to get to the point where you even out, where the person who went to college now potentially is making more than the person that did a trade or something.
Well, it's all about a skill. At the end of the day, when you go to trade school, you have a needed skill that a large percent of the population does not have. Whereas when you go to college, most of us come out with relatively the same subset of skills that when you go to find a job, depending on what your degree is in, you know, I didn't go necessarily for a zoology job, but I ended up working in an office as an admin assistant. There's lots of those jobs, but it doesn't take an upper level of skill. So you're competing with everybody else out there who has the same skill set level as you.
Well, and you know, one of my things that I always tell business owners when they're hiring is you want to hire more based on the person than the skill anyways. And so many businesses, even like ours, in a lot of cases, I would rather train the skill if I've hired the right person. So in a lot of cases, the skill isn't what sets you apart or get you hired anyways. It's your personality and really who you are.
Yeah. So there you go. Trades again. We win. All right. And the last topic that we just wanted to touch on in this episode is the importance of failure.
Oh, who could fail?
And especially for kids right now in our society, in the way that things are portrayed in social media and just across the culture, failure is looked at as the worst possible thing, when really for so many of us, failures or little mistakes that we've made have a huge lesson learned opportunity.
And if I had one complaint about like schooling when I was younger, it's that failure was seen as bad, whereas what you'll learn in life, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, what you'll learn is failure is a part of it. And every time you fail, there's an opportunity to learn and to grow. And what's funny is this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we don't want people to fail, like if we don't want our kids to fail and we never let them fail, they're going to fail less often. But when they do, it's going to be huge. And it's going to be like, I never want to do that again because it was such a bad failure.
Changing.
On the flip side, if you encourage failure on a small scale, so you fail fast and fail often, you're able to learn faster, you're able to adjust faster, and ultimately you're continuously growing because you're getting the lessons out of each of those failures. And in school and in society, so much of it is don't fail, whereas what we've learned as entrepreneurs and even as parents is you want failure because it's in those failures that you get the lessons and that you're able to grow and become better.
Well, I mean, let's just throw it out there. I mean, I've seen so many articles about the rising number of young child and teen suicides and the rising number of teens with anxiety and depression and all of these mental issues
deal with that stuff.
We shouldn't have our kids that are dealing with these things. And a lot of it comes back to failure being looked at as bad, because let's be honest, you don't want to be looked at as a failure on social media. So you're constantly being judged by others, by your peers, by your family, by adults. You don't want to be looked at as a failure in, the sports that you're trying to do and the arts.
I'll tell you what,
these things.
I do not let my kids win at games or sports or anything. Like, if you want to beat me, you got to beat me.
He totally does not let our children win.
But you know what? You know why? Because let's take Mario Kart. So our daughter started playing Mario Kart and she was terrible. She's like driving. Yeah, she's like driving into the wall and she's stuck there and I'm running around the course and she's getting all mad. But guess what? She got frustrated. And then, I worked with her to get her off the wall. So she's driving and she kept practicing, kept playing. And
now she wins first place all the time.
Now.
She's crazy. She's better than me.
Yeah. But that wouldn't have happened if I coddled her and if I let her beat me. No, I always stepped up and made her grow and gave her the opportunity to fail and then to learn from that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a product of not failing enough at a young age and then having it affect my adult life in ways that are not helping me that much because I'm trying to deal with these issues now, whereas I could have dealt with them when I was younger and just brushed them off and kept going. But I had a lot of expectations for myself as a young child to be good at everything. So I'm trying to help our daughter not have those same expectations because I know that she is a mini me and she's basically what I was when I was little. So having Tom beat her at games and talking about these things about why you feel you need to be a certain way or, you can't be bad at something, these are important conversations that we need to be having with our kids.
Yeah. Well, and the learning how to fail is so critical. It's the meta processes. It's just the same thing. It's less about what you know and do you know how to learn? Learning how to learn is one of the most critical skills.
Learning how to learn.
And learning how to fail and learn the lesson from that and come back is so critical. So that's what we want to be teaching. If you read books really fast, that's a really good skill to have, so kind of teaching kids these skills and these abilities to deal with things is so critical. And, what I've found is throughout life, business, all of that, we're always going to face bigger challenges than we're ready for. And it's not that we want to make those challenges smaller. It's that in order to succeed, we have to grow so that we are the people that can overcome those challenges, right? And so that starts with, as parents with our kids, in helping them learn how to grow, right? Like my kids come and work out with me in the workout. They love working out with me. And what I've been able to show them through that is that we start with light weights, and then we lift, and then we get sore, and then our muscles are basically growing, and then we're able to lift more, right? It's the same thing with their minds and their mindset. It's like, listen, if we come up against an obstacle and we can't overcome it yet, we've got to grow and we've got to figure out how to do that. And I'll tell you, that's one of the most valuable lessons I think any of us can have, is that ability to see an obstacle and figure out how can we grow so that we can overcome that.
And on that note, that's all we got to say about that. Pretty sure you already talked about your action somewhere way back towards the beginning. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you told them something specific.
You know what?
To take notes.
Yeah, so go back and listen. No, but my action at this point, I think it's just you, and if you have a significant other or anyone else that's involved in helping to raise your kids, just have conversations. Like, have a conversation with them around, you know, what is it that we're doing that's helping our kids with this? What preconceived notions or expectations do we have on them? You know, and then what things do we want to maybe do different, or what things are we doing well with that? Just start exploring that conversation, because the more awareness you have, the more intentionality you can take going forward as you raise your kids.
And my action for today is going to be a really simple one. It's going to be, go and have a conversation with your kids. Ask them things about themselves. Ask them things about what they enjoy doing. You know, just start opening up that line of communication with them, and maybe talk about some things that you liked to do when you were little, or some things that you learned, and ask them, hey, what would you like to learn how to do? Just get that conversation going, because it is amazing how much you will learn about them that you didn't realize. Like, they're tiny people. Even us having a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, sometimes the things that they say to me blows my mind. So that's my action for today.
Okay. And if you guys enjoyed this conversation, I'd highly encourage you to pick up our book, Lifestyle Builders. You know, the subtitle is Build Your Business, Quit Your Job, and Live Your Ideal Lifestyle. But really the reason I want you guys to take a look at this is because the entire first section is really related to what we're talking about today, which is figuring out what you want the future to look like and then building a roadmap to get there. So not only will this help you as you plan out your future and figure out how you're going to get there, but it's also going to give you great activities to do as a family and to do with your kids to help them figure out what it is they want in the future and to make intentional choices to get there. So if you guys are interested in learning more and picking up a copy, you can go to lifestylebuildersbook.com.
Yes, we're so excited. It is finally up for pre-order, and then the official launch date is this October, right after my birthday. All right. And if you are looking for some help building out a business idea and seeing if this is really something that you can do, or maybe your kids are looking for some help with that, we'd encourage you to come and check out the Lifestyle Builders Incubator and tell them where they can find that.
Join lifestylebuilders.com.
Yeah. All right. It's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and Lifestyle Builders.
And as always, I want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a Lifestyle Builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.